I'm instituting a game. It's called the Yes Brand Challenge.
Okay.
In 30 seconds, you name as many brands as you can. And at the end of the season, the guest that has named the most brands in 30 seconds wins a limited edition shirt. It's an Own Your Happy shirt. There's 2 artists, Corey Maddie and Jeremy Novi. The Kosher brand is sponsoring this. All right, go.
Dell, Target, Walmart, McDonald's, Burger King, Ford, Tahoe, Kia, Microsoft, Apple, Android, Google, Starbucks. Who else?
Time.
Marshalls.
Damn. That's time. We can't accept Marshalls, I'm afraid. We don't accept returns on Marshalls. Martians landed.
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits.
Yes.
Drinking Henry's seltzer.
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and?
Your branding here.
Yes, brand.
Your message here.
Yes, and?
A verse about
Yes.
your product here.
Yes.
I'm Hersh Rephun.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
In the hot seat today is Tori Barker. Tori is the owner, founder of Creative Marketing. And she will explain what elements of creative marketing she does, but creativity runs through everything that she does. She's the host of a podcast called Creative Visionaries. And she is, in my opinion, a creative visionary. And you may have already seen Tori's work on the image that we use for the show to promote Yes Brand with Hersh Rephun. It's an honor to have you on the show today, Tori. Welcome.
Hersh, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the intro. I love to call myself a creative visionary, and you are true and right in saying that creative runs a theme throughout my business. So,
okay.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to interrupt you to give you the opportunity to give your one floor elevator pitch of what creative marketing does.
Yeah, so Creative Marketing is a digital marketing company. We specialize in digital marketing, brand strategy, consulting, and we are mastermind builders. I also am the host of the Creative Visionaries podcast, where I talk to entrepreneurs and business leaders, and we share success stories, and we just have fun learning from each other and helping each other succeed and grow.
Mastermind builders pops out at me, because I've been hearing so much about masterminds. I've participated in some. People who are listening to the show probably have some sense of what it is. But since mastermind building is something that you're particularly engaged in, maybe elaborate on that a little bit.
I run a mastermind for podcast hosts who are also business owners. And the goal is to bring together some dynamic minds who are looking to grow and escalate their podcast to make an impact and, expand their voice. Voice
is a huge thing. I think that we all have a voice. We all have something to say. We all want to stand out. I think where you and I are also similar is that we recognize the need to stand out and get attention. And it can't be faked. You can't fake your vision, right? You can't pretend to be visionary. You have to have the idea first. How did you get into this industry as a whole? Not podcasting, but the marketing industry.
Well, so as many things happen, I kind of fell into this seat, out of college, looking for a career. And I had studied communications and art history in college, and I was a collegiate athlete. So leadership was a big thread in my life. But I reached out to a friend of mine who was working at a commercial real estate company, and she was a marketing person. I'm like, well, what do you do with marketing? How does this work? And so I really jumped in and started learning about marketing and graphic design, and that took me through my career, obviously through various companies and industries, but learning digital marketing and graphic design, social media, online advertising, websites, content creation, just the whole slew of it. And I just loved every aspect of it because as time went on, strategies changed, marketing changed, with what we had to utilize for the best advertising or the best marketing, to reach our customers. And so it was always changing, and I always loved the learning aspect of it. And I love to be creative and innovative and kind of keep up with the pace and help people with, what their needs were to get the end result. So that's kind of how I got into marketing and just kind of evolved over time, and just love the industry and have, a true passion for helping others and using my creativity to do that.
It's very admirable to dive into all of that stuff. And yet at the same time, I don't know that it would work without it, like without your understanding of the kind of A to Z components of this stuff. And like, to your point, how they all change. I think it would be really difficult. I as someone whose emphasis is on creative and strategy, as a consultant, I'm on my own, and the real essence of what I'm giving them is the idea to the writing, and screeching up to the door of execution, and then I have to help them assemble a team quite often that will execute. And so your ability, SEO, for example. SEO is woven into the material that I write, but that's not, I'm not doing the SEO for them,
Yeah. You create the message and the story, and then you need to weave that into the implementation part, which is where that comes to life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't do that, it's like there's no point in creating a beautiful painting that no one sees, or a beautiful campaign that isn't realized, or if it is realized, it doesn't get to the audience.
Right.
How do you what's your approach to bought media versus earned media?
So like organic versus paid?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that you have to have a combination of both, right? Because not everything is going to be paid, or not everyone is going to have the budget to spend on the huge media buys that you can, that are out there. There's so much of it out there. So you need to have the content that is there, right? Your website, that's going to be your basis, right? It's kind of like your digital brochure. But like we said, if you build it, they're not necessarily going to come. So you have to get them there. You put the breadcrumbs out and lead them to, landing pages or media that you're putting together, the story, the blog post, whatever it might be. So, doing the organic content builds your rapport, it builds your brand presence. And then the advertising or the paid side of it is just going to escalate the appearance and the volume of people that see it. So I think you need to have a mix of both. And, brand awareness depends on what your end goal is, right? Do you have a campaign or a product that you're trying to specifically launch? Then you have ad campaigns that are specific to that. Or are you just trying to build your brand awareness? Are you a new company? You're trying to learn, have people learn about you and know, like, and trust you. Then you have a different campaign that you would put together for that.
What is a realistic way of approaching the chain of events that should happen, from the point of they have a product, they probably even have the business operating on some level, but they want to break through to another level?
Well, I think, first you have to build the brand, right? So if you're meeting a cold audience, they don't know you. So you have to kind of warm them up to who you are, what you sell, what you're all about. So there's some sort of brand that you have to build into your advertising campaign. And then the other side of it is really knowing who your audience is and what's their dreams, drains, and doubts, right? You need to have those key points that when they read a message that's in your ad or your whatever copy that you're putting out there, that it speaks to them and it pulls them in, and it's like, yes, that's what I need, or that's what my problem is, and you know how to solve it, or that's the product I need, and I'm going to buy it because you have it. So it really comes down to the strategy, building the brand, knowing who your audience is, and then executing. Once you have those in place, everything just falls into place as it goes along, because you've done the beginning work that's going to result in the sell or the lead or, the conversation to get you to where you need to be.
What's it like out there right now?
It's a dog-eat-dog world. No.
Yeah.
There are some people that have project-specific needs, but ultimately I like the long-term, kind of retention or ongoing relationship, because for one, that builds the relationship and the connection, and you, with a client, you just build that connection and you're stronger as you work together over time. You start to learn each other's businesses more, and it helps to build that brand and the marketing that you're doing because you have that time that you've spent with them. So my preference is the ongoing, so it's not just a turn and burn kind of situation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I find that first of all, needs change and the best laid plans, as they say. So it's if you're working with a client over a period of time, you can change your strategies and you can pivot. Something comes up, a new opportunity comes up, something happens in the world. You can evolve with it.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about marketing too is that it's not, you're not going to have a quick ROI because you have to take time to nurture and you have to do the beta testing, right? There's certain times where you put an ad out, for 2 weeks or a month, you're not necessarily going to convert. It's going to take you at least 3, 6, 9 months before you start to get the momentum going, because you have to kind of be nimble in the marketing that you're doing so that you respond to the audience that is receiving the advertising or the marketing or the messaging, so that you're making sure that you're tweaking and adjusting to get the message in front of the right people, which is why you do the beginning work.
I think the roadmap to what we envision for them is super important. There's a discovery process where you kind of get to know them, what their needs are, what their pain points are, what they're going through. Yeah. But then there's, because on Yes Brand, the podcast, most of my guests, I have a mix for this first season of experts, colleagues, because I didn't want my perspective to be the only one that the audience hears, and then brand owners and CEOs and people who own their business. And with those people, even with some of the others, I have fun and I create some concepts, and there are some campaigns that can come out of it. But it's really, nothing would happen if it just ended at the show and they didn't take that and do something with it, or take that and then they get another idea. And so I think of it as like the kickstart of the process, the thought process of creating.
It's that thing that, initial concept that leads to, one podcast can lead to, 10, 20, 30 pieces of content if you make it, depending on the length of it and the quality of the message that you guys put together. And same thing is true with a marketing campaign. If you start with building a story and you can piecemeal that story out and you can put, it into an email campaign, you can put it into a social media campaign, website copy, landing pages. There's just so much you can do once you have that message and that written content and the story that tells, either your product story, your business story, your personal brand story. That's just exponential, the marketing that you can build around it. And it evolves over time, right? So this one piggybacks off of that one, and so on and so on.
Okay, the various tangents of a brand's image and story, in my view, have to be integrated. They have to be synthesized so that their employees are getting the same message that their customers are getting, that they're getting treated the same way. The ethos translates across all these different, that's another argument for that long-term association. But the message to the business owners listening would be, don't just think of your consumer as the end user. Think of your team, your staff, your employees. If you're a small business or a mid-range business, you have a fair number of employees. And those people, I read Phil Knight's autobiography, Shoe Dog, the co-founder of Nike. So in that, he chronicles his experiences setting up that brand, that company, with just a few people. And even the first 2 or 3 people, however critical they are, you look at now, tens of thousands of employees, And ideally, they will feel about that brand the way the consumer feels, at least, right? Mm-hmm. So
if not more.
If you were to have or more. And if you were to have a company where the message to the consumer is, we love you, and we're supporting you. And then they tell the employee, no, you can't have, Christmas off or whatever, they give all this stuff to so it wouldn't be congruous. It wouldn't. And so what I've seen, having done a lot of marketing in the footwear business, the employees become the evangelists for the brand because they're so connected to the culture that the brand has been formed around, that they live it.
Yeah.
And that's where we can be helpful, is saying, okay, how do you communicate that? How do you let your employees know that this is the same? It's the same inside as outside. How do you speak to them?
Yeah, you're totally right. It's not only building the brand for the consumer, but the company culture too, because like you said, the employees become your best evangelists or your advocates for the business, and they bring in clients. And when they're talking to the clients, they understand because they have that same feeling that you've, conveyed through the brand and the messaging that you've put together for your consumers. So it's almost like, if you think about it, maybe you should start internally instead of starting externally with your consumers, because if you don't have the company culture and you don't have everybody on the same page, then when they're speaking to the consumer, the message is going to be skewed and not consistent.
Well, now I have a graph. It's in my new promotional video, in my new introductory video, where you can meet Hersh Rephun, creator of the Yes Brand Method, the so-called thought leader, Hersh Rephun. So-called thought leader.
Self-proclaimed. No.
Well, I'm not self-proclaimed. I never said that I was a thought leader. I have heard amongst colleagues and people who know what they're talking about that I am, in certain circles, considered a thought leader, but I'm not sure for what. I don't know what thought. I don't know. At my age, I'm not sure that I can carry a thought forward more than about 30 seconds. So I don't know, I don't know that thought leader. I may have missed the window. But if they so bestow that title on me, I'm not going to turn it down. I'll take it. So I may be a so-called thought leader, but I do have in that video a graph or whatever, an image. They call it an image. Like I said, I'm not an art director, so I don't. But I think you people call it an image, and it builds itself out from the core ethos of the company out to where they're finally doing advertising and PR. Yeah. But I think what we have to do is I help them build that core out, and at every stage I say, okay, well, now we bring Tori in, and Tori will look at both the media aspect, the media buys, the placement and positioning at that level, and then how do we slowly build to the external campaign, and then what is the difference between the internal communications and the external communications. And I guarantee that, no offense to my friends at big agencies, but they probably pay big ad agencies quite a bit of money to sometimes do that stuff, or they end up splitting it off into different agencies. Mm-hmm. But my clientele really isn't those gigantic,
right?
Global companies.
Yeah.
Once they find out that I'm a so-called thought leader, they may come a knocking, and I wouldn't be surprised.
And I'm a visionary, so I mean,
right? And you are a visionary. Well, you're what I would consider to be a known visionary. I'm a so-called thought leader, but it's okay. I mean, that's I think third-party validation is a big thing, no matter what. We kid about it, but the fact is that this is what we do for people too. We're creating the image that they want to present, but someone has to adopt it, and the only people who are going to adopt it are people who believe it. And so, if you sell the truth, like I say, if you're putting out there what is real, and you're doing it in a way that is palatable and digestible and acceptable and feels good for the audience, then they adopt it, and now they are giving you the validation. They're giving you that, they're giving the brand that third party validation.
Yeah.
And that's so important.
Absolutely.
That's so important.
Have you read the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek?
Oh, I've heard. I haven't read that book, and I should.
That is a really good book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he talks about, it's a diagram, kind of like the graph, that fancy graph you used in your video.
Right.
Yes.
Fancy. Oh, did he
fancy.
copy my?
I think he did. I think
my
that's
so-called original diagram. Okay.
But it's like a circle,
Yeah.
right? So, and there's 3 circles, and Y is in the middle, and basically you work your way from the middle out, which is the same concept of, starting with the company culture and building your way out.
It's not quite the same. It's not quite the same.
I mean, it's not from the thought
it's a
leader
similar.
Hersh.
It's similar. Yeah, but I should check out Simon Sinek's book, because while I'm sure that he had his own ideas, there may be some copyright issues. If what color is the graph? Did they
it's
use
black and white.
Blues and okay. Well,
yeah, so maybe he's
all right,
okay.
I didn't steal my branding colors. That's mine. I used blue and white, and then I think there was orange in there somewhere.
Okay, well,
but
there could be some residual there for you. I don't know.
Yeah, are you hearing that? Is there a ding coming through the computer?
No.
Or you're not hearing that? You're not hearing it. Okay, it's my son on WhatsApp. I had it hooked up to my desktop, and now my phone's silenced, but the desktop isn't. So he's WhatsApping me, but it's fine. So now I have to delete our conversation about it, not his beeping. So
Yes.
it's really
No
the
beeping
deletion
on my
is now
end.
on me. Okay, well that's good. Is Simon beeping? Simon, are you beeping?
Simon,
see.
maybe we can get him on as a guest.
But
we can co-host.
I do want to get him on. I do want to get. Well, you're kind of a co-host today. I think you're my first co-host, because we're both kind of talking to the prospective brand, the company out there that's trying to get to another level. They're worried about social media. What is it? Is social media valuable? Is it valuable to grow an account on Instagram? I mean, what have you learned or gleaned in that area?
Well, I think it's a necessary evil, unfortunately, right? You have to be present on social media, whether you like it or not, because people are going there and they're going to see whether you have an account, content that's been posted regularly, or whether it was 2019. So you have to have some livelihood on your accounts on social media. So it is necessary. I don't necessarily think that it is a selling platform or a conversion platform. It's a brand building platform, because a lot of times that's where you start the know, like, and trust factor. And then you build the conversation offline, right? So I love to always say, take the online offline, because that's where you're going to really build that relationship and take it to the next level. And, social media gives you the outlet to promote your content, get them aware, and then you can build the relationship and the network from there.
It's going to definitely take more than a single platform or a single. That I have learned, that it's an interplay among platforms. This leads us to a little game that we're going to play. I'm instituting a game. It's called the Yes Brand Challenge.
Okay.
I actually do think that I'm going to promote this out there to other shows to do the Yes Brand Challenge, because I think that it could work on any show about business, certainly, or parenting, or any of this stuff. But the idea is very simple. In 30 seconds, you name as many brands as you can. And at the end of the season, the guest that has named the most brands in 30 seconds wins a shirt. This shirt is created. It's a limited edition shirt. It's an Own Your Happy shirt. There's 2 artists, Corey Maddie and Jeremy Novi, and these are their signature kind of images, that they're well-known street artists in Los Angeles. And the winner will get a signed shirt, and a donation is made to the Keep It Kosher Project, which is the kosher brand is sponsoring this. The kosher brand is a streetwear brand dedicated to equity, kindness, and inclusiveness. And they also support emerging young street artists. And so they they have a fund for supplies, for opportunities for young artists and stuff like that. So that's
cool.
a chance to have the kosher brand involved, and also to test the ability of my guests. Now I'm going to get our timer up.
All right.
Okay.
No pressure.
So now when I say go, you're gonna name as many, and it's deceptively hard because you'd think it would be easy, but just don't get caught up, and don't start beating yourself up if you get lost. Just try to throw out any brand. Okay? All right. Go.
Dell, Target, Walmart, McDonald's, Burger King, Ford, Tahoe, Kia, Microsoft, Apple, Android, Google, Starbucks. Who else?
Time.
Marshalls.
That's time. We can't accept Marshalls, I'm afraid. We don't accept returns on Marshalls. Actually, I kind of clocked it in my head, and I think you got about 17, which would be the high score so far.
Nice.
So don't get your hopes up.
I was trying to think theme-wise, if you think cars and restaurants and I was trying to think theme, but then I got scrambled.
Yeah. No. You did great, Tori. I was actually pretty impressed right up front there, because at 15 seconds you had done about 10, and that was already the high score was about 10. And so,
I used to have a game. It was called the Logo game. And I loved that game. It was like a board game. And so maybe that, I need to go play that again, and then we'll do this again.
What is the Logo game like?
Well, it's cards, and it has logos, and you have to name what the brand is. And so it's different logos that you see. So you see the visual of the
you
logo.
identify them, but yes.
And then you have to
I would
name
be
them.
good at that. I might be good at that. I'm not sure. But your acumen with brands definitely kind of helped out in this case. But I also thought, I'll go like cars. But then you get stuck, and now you're only thinking of cars. Now you're not going to go from Acura to Jiffy now, because you can't shift, But Jiffy Lube, Jif peanut butter, Jif.
Yeah. Something that starts with
Jolly
a J.
Rancher. Now I'm on J's. But I think it's a fun thing. I'm going to see if I can get some enthusiasm for this game that goes beyond just the Yes Brand show, because then of course I'm proliferating my brand on other podcasts, and that's what it's all about. So-called
there you go,
genius.
you thought leader.
You thoughtless. Are you calling me a thought leader?
Yes.
Are you saying I'm a thought leader? Wow.
I am saying that. I don't know if I'd say
that.
forward thinker, because, age is a factor when you have to think.
Right.
But thought leader, I would give you that one.
Yeah. Because you can lead and really not be going anywhere. So you can say,
leading the blind. You never know.
Follow me. And then just stand there. Are we going?
Are we going?
What?
Well,
you said
depends on who you're leading. All right, is it a 50, 55 plus, or they'll just jump into any line?
They'll go anywhere. There's an old joke. There was an old joke that somebody goes to heaven and they see two lines. The guy goes to heaven, he sees two lines, and one says men who do everything their wives tell them, and the other line is men who stand up for themselves. And the men who do everything their wives tell them is the longest line that the guy's ever seen. And he sees one little guy on the other line, men who stand up for themselves. It's not even a big guy. He's a little old man. And he walks over to the guy and he says, so what are you doing on this line? And he says, my wife told me to stand here. So there you go. Okay, so
I love it.
So we're coming to kind of the conclusion of our interview. We don't have to. We could go on for hours and hours, but also I like the audience to be a little hungry when we leave.
Yes.
Like now they'll be like, oh, I can't believe they left, and that's going to be pretty exciting, torturing them that way. But I do like to give you the last word. I want you to be able to imagine the sea of business owners, professionals, branding enthusiasts, colleagues of ours, and everybody trying to make their stand in the world and in this crazy world stand out. So maybe give them a little nugget to take home with them?
Well, I think, when it comes to business, you need to lead with authenticity and stand out, right? Make sure that you're innovative in the marketing that you're doing, the brand that you build, and make sure that you're not following the crowd, because being authentic and being innovative is going to take you so much further than anything else in the world.
All right.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and?
it worked for you,
Yes, then?
subscribe and leave a
Yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.
Yes.